Are we live, Nicholas? Are
We
we
are
live? I
right on the
think.
nose there. Look at that.
Look at that. I feel like part of that will get cut out, but who knows? Who knows, Nicholas? It is a wonderful, wonderful time of year. This is one of my favorite episodes. I'm a big fan of the holidays. Not a huge fan of putting the trees up so early.
Goo.
Go, but also I came across a great like on the Dedham like the Dedham community Facebook page. It is such a great place for fucking nonsense. And an anonymous user just decided they were going to take time out of the day. I'm going to assume it was a fucking old man, like a real old man who was just bitching about people putting up their Christmas lights too early. And it's like, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? You're driving. It's not your house. Keep walking. Keep walking. Now, unless it's like, fucking 1,000 megawatts blasting into your living room. Okay, you might got a beef, but something tells me, some flickering lights and some decorations. You know, not bothering anyone. I got no problem with that. But I love this season because I love Christmas music. I love Christmas movies, Nicholas. It's almost Thanksgiving, which means it's time for planes, trains, and automobiles. But more importantly, Nicholas, have you watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, by the way? Have you seen them?
I've only seen planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah. What did I say?
Automobiles. You said it twice too.
Oh,
You said,
automobiles.
I thought it was like you were going for like a Thanksgiving joke. I
No,
don't know.
no, no. But it works. It works.
It
It's a
does.
great fucking movie. That's how excited I am. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, TLDR Studios proudly presents to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest podcasting team in the world. He is the everyday comic book writer, Nick Friar. I am your mispronouncing Dr. The Backcracker, Dr. Joe. And together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. And this week, folks, is an episode that is near and dear to our hearts, my heart, and it's our holiday gift guide. And before we dive too deeply into that, Sir Nicholas, why don't you go through, all the places the wonderful people can find us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just a reminder for everybody that if you're finding us over on YouTube Live right now, make sure you're subscribed. First of all, it helps the show out a ton, and you're going to get a lot of looks at preview pages from the show over on our shorts content. And of course, this is where you hear from us first. We have our audio channels that you hear from us, but that drops on the day of New Comic Book Day, right at midnight. Make sure you subscribe to those audio channels too, though, because that's where you're going to get our Friar Side chats, which are conversations with creators across the industry. We've had about 20 of those this year. We'll talk about that during our annual. We may sneak one more in before the year ends. Who knows? The only place you're going to find those is on our audio channel. So make sure you subscribe to one of those. And while you're there, leave a 5-star rating and review. 5 stars only. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of Backcracker. And yeah, Joe, you're right. Like this is, we both have a lot of fun. I mean, this is the time of year to have fun with this kind of stuff, with making lists, year-end lists. But also for us, we do a holiday gift guide because we're talking about things that you can give people or you can ask for the holidays.
Yeah, and with Black Friday coming up, there's going to be bargains. There's
There
going to be
absolutely
lots
is.
of bargains. I'm sure your local comic book shop will have some bargains.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid you have to resort to Amazon, to find some of these books. You might, unfortunately. But what we're going to do today, folks, is we're giving you a head start. We are doing you a great service. And this is a service that we usually have done in the past after all the bargains.
We learned last year. I think last year was the first time, and that's what I was going to say too. We're both guys who we like Thanksgiving. We like to celebrate Thanksgiving, but at the same time, we're also realistic in the sense of everybody has to start their shopping a lot sooner than Thanksgiving, as much as you're doing stuff on Black Friday. And when it comes to this list too, you need this a lot sooner than Thanksgiving. So that's why we're getting ahead of schedule on this. We're always going to be doing it this way because it makes the most sense for everybody.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So, without further ado, Nicholas, are there anything that you need to catch up on?
The only thing I actually wanted to note that I did catch up on was Witcher. What was the one that I'm blanking on the name
Oh,
right
the
now?
Bear and the Butterfly.
Bear and the Butterfly. I actually went back and reread the entire all the
Oh,
first
love
three
that.
issues, and then read the fourth one. I thought I hadn't read the third one. That's why I didn't read the fourth one ahead of last week's show. So I was like, I can't crunch in two. I was wrong, but either way, outstanding. That's not going to be in collected form ahead of the holidays. But that is a great series. If you know anybody who likes The Witchers, that's definitely something that's like a trade to pick up as like maybe a birthday gift or something to that effect whenever that comes out. But really enjoyed that series. That was a lot of fun. Cy Spurrier did a great job putting that one together as he's known to do. But I don't have anything else from a catching up standpoint. Did you?
No, I meant to. I meant to. I wanted to sort of get through the Phoenix series again, written by Stephanie Phillips,
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, who's going to
and
be the new Daredevil writer?
who's going to be the new Daredevil writer. And so it's like, and there was a brief moment where I thought, I'm going to have some extra time. I bet I can fly through this, but I just didn't get that chance. I will do that before year's end. I am only like 6 books away, I think, from 1,000. So I
Nice.
am a month and a half ahead of schedule. So,
Oh
um,
yeah. That's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, nice. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
I'm happy to hear that. So there you go. Phoenix could help you out with that. I'm surprised this week didn't put you over the hump because
it
much as
got me close. It got me real close.
clearly, because as much as we are going to be doing our gift guide, we are still going to go through what's new this week in comics, and this is one of those weeks where we have for us we have some slow weeks as it makes sense for everybody, and maybe our slow weeks aren't the same as everybody else's necessarily because we have access to all of these review copies to be able to tell you different things that we like and what we're experiencing as we're reading these stories. But our busy weeks are absolutely insane. I read at least 10 books, single issues ahead of this episode, and I still felt like I didn't even put a dent into what I was supposed to be reading. And I know you read a little bit more than I did too, but it's like, holy crap. There's at least 2 dozen books for us to be reading between the two of us. Maybe more.
Yeah, I'm trying. See, I'm counting right now.
Yeah. Good luck
14,
with that.
15,
I'm
16, 17, 18. Like, I read like close to 20 books this
when
week.
you were rattling off, I was like, you read way more than I did. And I feel like I had at least 20 to get to.
And you know what's funny? When you tell me, oh, the books are uploaded, I'm going through. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't seem too bad. This doesn't seem too bad. Oh, I'm not reading a lot of books. And then I go, no, wait a second. Nope, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
But just between Image and Mad Cave alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
damn near half the books I read, this week. And DC had a bunch. Marvel, and I think what really sort of put it over the top was that on a given week there might be one or two Marvel books that I read, or one or two DC books. Sometimes there's none from Marvel that I'm reading. There
Right.
was three from each, so that's six right there. It's like,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
jumping
There was
Jehoshaphat's.
yeah, there was a lot for us to get to. And yeah, you mentioned Mad Cave too. There is what maybe 7 books out from them this week, and we read all but 2 of them.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
we have 2 that we want to break down, but that's for later. We're getting ahead of ourselves. You mentioned Marvel. Why don't you kick us off there?
Okay, so from Marvel Comics, for the week of November 19th, 2025, the year of our year, we have the Ultimates issue 18, the Amazing Spider-Man issue 16, One World Under Doom issue 9, Punisher Red Band issue 3.
I'm so glad
between
he's getting a full series.
between this and Predator Kills the Marvel Universe issue 4, both written by Sir Benjamin Percy. I've knighted him.
Oh wow.
Um, you're gonna hear his name. You're gonna hear his name at the end of the year. I'm gonna tell you that much right now.
Oh boy.
We have Captain America issue 5, Unbreakable X-Men, not Kimmy Schmidt, but Unbreakable X-Men issue 2, X-Men: The Book of Revelation issue 2, Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe issue 5, Radioactive Spider-Man issue 2, The Last Wolverine issue 2, All New Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider issue 4, Star Wars Jedi Knights issue 9, Omega Kids issue 2, Marvel Rivals Infinity Comic issue 29, Marvel Rivals Unleashed Infinity Comic issue 5, Nova Centurion issue 1, X-Men of Apocalypse issue 1, Spider-Man Holiday Spectacular issue 1.
I how many times does this friggin' happen to me where I say like I hate like how Marvel labels their review copies. I completely forgot that Nova Centurion was supposed to be out this week,
Oh,
and that one was one I've
same,
been.
same.
Oh,
I know.
dude. Oh, that pisses me off so much. I mean, look, at some point I gotta learn and make an adjustment, but I'm just like, wait a second, dude. That came out this week. So it's Centurion. Crap. How did
Yeah,
that slip
them
past
and
me?
Dark Horse label their books very awkwardly.
Yeah, yeah, Dark Horse is even weirder. It's a great point. I'm also am I not seeing it here? I don't know. I'm so rattled right now. That just threw me off so much. How did that slip past me? Anyways, I just added to the list of all the books that I'm going to be reading over this throughout the rest of the week. Great time to be a comic book reader. All right, from DC, we got Absolute Flash issue 9, Nightwing issue 132, Batman Superman World's Finest issue 45, Titans issue 29, Wonder Woman. Now that I don't like that one. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I was
Nope.
gonna say, yeah,
Nope.
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 You gotta pick
Wonder,
and choose, Nicholas. Gotta pick
Wonder
and
well,
choose.
I'm still learning here.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman issue 27. Someday I'm gonna do something for my full-time job on camera, and I'm gonna say something like this, and I'm gonna be like, Joe, like
I'll lose my fucking
Seinfeld.
mind.
Oh my god, if that happens. God. Anyways, the New Gods issue 12, Superman Unlimited issue 7, Justice League Red issue 4, Catwoman issue 81, and then a book that you may say, I feel like this came out already, and that is Batman Deadpool issue 1. Guess what? It hasn't come out already because that was the Marvel version that we got. This version is written by Grant Morrison with art by Dan Mora. And it also features different backstories or backup stories than the than the Marvel issue did. And going into this, we were both like, what is this? Why are they doing it in this way? How is this going to work? What have you? Off the top, I wanted to make sure, okay, is this the same story? Because that's weird. It is not. I want to confirm that for everybody because I was confused about that going in, and you and I had kind of talked about that, Joe. The other thing is there are in communication with one another, but at the same time, you won't be lost if you didn't read the Marvel version of this previously. So all that kind of stuff that we would worry about, that's out the door right away. If you are a longtime Marvel and DC fan, you need to pick this one up in particular. There are two things in this issue that are very much for long time, like 90s, 80s, like Marvel DC fans. There are two big, big things in here. One is absolutely badass, and one is very, very funny. I don't want to say any more than that. You'll know when you get there. I enjoyed the Marvel version. I did. I liked it. I thought it was like a fun, like little self-contained story and everything like that. And we both were kind of like, what are they doing with the pairing going into this? I liked the DC version more. I'm glad I read both. I think that both were entertaining in their own way, but I think the DC one was like really capitalizing on what this whole thing is, what this whole event is. It was like a more aggressive swing. It's definitely the story is like way more all over the place, but it's it's Grant Morrison, so like he's gonna go. He'll get weird, but everything makes sense in the end. But I think they also they had a lot of fun with this. And Dan Mora, of course, just Dan Mora versus Greg Capullo. We're not here to compare, artists and stuff like that. But I mean, like, six dozen one way, half of the other. So, but anyways, Batman and Deadpool, the DC version of this crossover event. I it's not about who's better, but this one was better.
There you go. There you go, folks. As we stated, I am not a Deadpool guy, so
Mhm.
I focused on the backup stories on this one. But you've sold me. I will go back. I will read
Dude,
this one and
y-
check it out.
you're gonna. I'm telling you, like you'll let me know. But
Yeah.
like you're gonna be like, how did you not tell me? And if you want me to tell you the things, I'll tell you the things later,
No,
but
no,
not
no,
right now.
no, 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 no. I
Okay.
want to go in. I want to go walk out going, okay. Oh yeah, he was right. I don't like saying that, but I want to go in surprise.
All right, cool.
Uh, from Image and Skybound, we have the ever so awesome Exquisite Corpses, and didn't plan on diving into this one. I just want to say, like, what I loved about this issue was not so much that we'll call it the in-ring action. Uh But speaking of I told you so, there was a great little like fucking I told you so at the end of this issue. And it's just setting something up that's just going to be so awesome. Like this just
Yeah.
continues to be such an awesome series.
Mhm.
We have GI Joe issue 14, which I mean, I've always been enjoying it, but now we're really getting into. So the Energon universe is really sort of crossing streams here, and with Transformers and GI Joe really starting to blend more and more and more. And actually, speaking of rereading, I just read issue 13, and that was excellent. So Joshua Williamson continues to crush. The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 125. Everything Dead and Dying issue 3. I think this is going to be my gem of the week, Nicholas,
It's a good call. It's a great pick.
because this is just again, it is a horror story with a tremendous amount of heart and heartache, and just you got flawed characters out the ass. It's right in my wheelhouse. This is
And
such
for
a
those who don't
great story.
know what Jock's Gem of the Week is, make sure you're subscribed over on Instagram and or TikTok and either X or on Blue Sky, because that's where Joe posts his Gem of the Week. That is one of the books that we didn't talk about during our mainline or our What's New segment, and you wanted to dig in a little bit deeper on those. Come out on Fridays. It's the only place you're going to find that stuff. Anyways, as you were, sir.
All right, The Sacrificers, issue 17. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, I felt like for some reason I was like wildly far behind, but no, I had read so I'm only just I think issues 16 and 17 or 15. I can't remember when the
You've
new arc
read The
actually started.
Sacrificers?
Yeah, we talked about this, Nicholas.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did. I'm sorry. Yes.
It was
No,
my
I was.
trade,
I
or not
like.
my trade, but
I seriously was looking at issue 17. I'm like, Joe still hasn't friggin' read this thing. I had. Wow, that was bad.
yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Okay.
we discussed this. No. So I was like, but I do know I've got to read the last like couple issues where the arcs just sort of restarted.
Yes.
We have Ghost Pepper issue 5, Undiscovered Country issue 34. It's the Big Poppy issue. Viking Moon issue 2, Lost Fantasy issue 5, Creep Show issue 3, No Man's Land issue 3, Lazarus Fallen issue 6, Good as Dead issue 3, Hectoplasm Hunt for Bigfoot issue 2, Spawn the Dark Ages. I did not number that one for some reason. That is on me. Capes issue 1, and Tyler Boss's Tyler no yeah Tyler
Kirkham.
Boss's final
Kirkham.
boss. Is it Kirkham?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm 1,000% sure. Yeah. I did want to confirm because I had back to the Indiegogo campaign like back when you did it.
I don't know why. That's a me. I just brain farted.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
Uh,
But I do want to confirm, like, if you got that, I'm not saying don't go buy it, but like, they're one in the same. Like,
oh,
there's
okay.
more.
So
There's more to the story that we're going to be getting finally
right,
that we
right,
haven't
right, right, right.
gotten.
But we
But
got okay, yeah.
yes.
But the book that we want to discuss this week from Image is Jesus Christ, Joseph. Is News from the Fallout issue 6, written by Chris Condon and Jeffrey Allen Love. Did you read this issue, Nicholas? Have we been caught up?
I love the way this ended.
Oh, me
It
too.
was so good. It was perfect.
Oh, it was fantastic because there is a certain point where we're reading this and I'm enjoying it, but I'm wondering like, okay, where is this going? Like issue 5, I thought was excellent, and really set things up. And so I was like, how are they gonna like? How is this truly gonna end? And there's a large section of this issue that I love where I mean, when we had Chris Condon on, he told us when talking about this book that he goes, the art's different. It's gonna sort of be unlike anything you've really kind of seen in comics. And I loved it. I love the art style. And there's at least a page where there was just nothing but black panels with the lettering in sort of white. And it really did create a great sense of suspense, and sort of this claustrophobia and this, but a great sense of unease, because you've got a group of people sort of, in this cave, and then, you know, pun intended, we get the fallout of everything that happens there, and then just that last like 3-4 panels of how that ends, I thought was so brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
and I go that really was a perfect fucking ending,
It was
right?
It,
Because you didn't see it coming. and it just, it really brought the room together, man.
Hmm.
Like it was just this was a great series. It was a great sort of post-apocalyptic sort of story, told in a really unique way, drawn in a very unique way. And I absolutely loved this series.
Yeah. The only thing that's missing for me with this is I feel like there's supposed to be like some eerie music playing in the background as I'm
Oh,
reading some like alien type stuff.
there's like there's a TikTok sound that like it's very generic. It plays on a lot of videos like it's like when it's doing like creepy shit. Like you
Hmm.
could probably hear it in your head without me.
Yeah,
If you spend any modicum of time on TikTok, like that would be perfect while reading this. Like that
I get what you mean.
doom
Hmm.
doom doom
Yeah,
doom
100%.
doom. Right? Oh,
Yeah,
that would creep me the fuck out.
yeah. It was a very, very creepy series. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was really blown away when this ended because I was like, because I knew it was we knew it was a limited series. I didn't know how many issues. He probably had told us, and I just had forgotten. But I try not to assume some of these things just because get more enjoyment out of it or whatever. And the way it was going, I was like, oh boy, like I wonder how many more of this issues is going to have. And it's like, whoa, what? I love
Yeah.
being surprised like that.
Yeah. Chef's
Um,
kiss.
100%. Moving over to Boom, we got Power Rangers Prime issue 12, which I'm still catching up on. Hello Darkness, my old friend, issue 16. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, volume 3, issue 3. Marion Heretic, issue 2. Mary Sue, issue 2. I gotta say, maybe Baby Boom don't publish those in the same week. Very different titles, but just some of us will make mistakes there. And then because I'm pretty sure Mary Sue's a Boombox title. So could you imagine someone be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this"? Like the covers are probably really different. I'm not checking out Mary Sue, but I know what Marion Heretic is. It's just that'd be a terrible mistake to make. Uh, anyways, there is a book from Boom that you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, The Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal, issue 5, written by Conor McCreary with art by VV Glass. This is a book that I haven't that I that I absolutely love, and I haven't always talked about it, each time that it's come out, but it's a book that I enjoy every single month that it comes out, and there was a several year gap between volume 1 and volume 2, but The Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal, issue 5, the finale for this arc, was excellent. I mean, issue 4 was like really just sort of like left you going, what the hell? You had beloved characters, sort of, there was a tremendous heel turn in this series, and just the way that it ended and the way that it sort of sets up another arc. So I hope that we get one, and it's not 2-3 years, from now, because this is a great sort of young adult fantasy, story. And I shouldn't even preface it by saying young adult. It's just a great fantasy story in general. I really dig Conor McCreary's writing and VV Glass's art style. It's just like the art style kind of, I think, gives it a little bit of that sort of young adult feel to it. But to me, it's just a good old fashioned fantasy comic book. So this is one I highly recommend to any comic book fan, any fantasy comic book fan. Um, there was some really great battle scenes in this issue, and the way that it ended, and sort of like the last page, what it sort of sets up, is definitely leaves you wanting more. So, The Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal, issue 5. Check it out.
Nice, nice. What do we have from Dark Horse?
From a Dark Horse, we have Red Book, issue 2. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, The Sword of Flaws, issue 2. Um, I could also use that as a euphemism. Uh, Hey-o. We have Powers 25, issue 3. Critical Role, Vox Machina Origins, Origins 1, issue 6. I freaking hate when they do that. I look at the spacer that I
Yeah.
put between each issue. We have Nocturnals, The Sinister Path, issue 3. Minor Threats, The Last Devil Left Alive, issue 2. The Guy in the Chair, issue 2. Did you read the first issue of that, by the way?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, see, there's another book that slipped past me.
Yes.
I read the first one, but not this week's issue.
Yeah, they just titled it. Some are like
Now that one's
I
on
can
me.
get
I
like
knew that one.
CR. VOX, I that's Critical Role Vox Machina, but that's
Sure.
like how they do it, CRVOX, and then I'm just supposed to assume. Anyways,
Damn
and
it.
the one book that neither of us got to, but we both wanted to, and I'll say like the cover of this looked really friggin' dope. Was Jean Le Carre's The Circus Losing Control issue
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I'm excited to check that one out. I will definitely be reading The Guy in the Chair. Well, jeez, I really do have at least a dozen other books that I didn't get to. That's insane. Moving over to Mad Cave, we got Racer X issue 3. Continues to be such a fun story. It killed everyone but me.
Oh,
Outstanding. Don't forget your briefcase issue 5. I think that trade. I just got an email. I don't know if that trade's going to be out for the holidays, but that's a series. I know you've been saying on top of it. I'm behind on it, but
I'm behind. I think I've read issues 1 through 3, so I got to read 4. But anyways, yeah.
Okay. But either way, that's a book that I'm going to be catching up on, and obviously you've been reading Gotcha Man issue 14 and Temporal issue 2. Then we got a first issue and a second issue from Mad Cave. We got to talk about these two titles. They were that good. Which one did you want to dig into first?
I just spoke, so why don't you give a crack at it?
All right. So Ferocious issue 1. When I saw the cover for this, I was like, I'm in. I don't like we were all in on Mad Cave in general, but I saw the cover and I was like, this is gonna be crazy. And it absolutely was. The stakes in this first issue are out of control, and so is the action. Sets the stage for a potential revenge story in a very, very odd pairing in a high fantasy world. And this also feels the world of Ferocious feels very lived in right off of the rip because you're at the center of this war, but then this is kind of like a side story within this larger war. But you don't need to know anything about that, and there isn't too much like expose on that in this story. So it's really easy to get into right away. Some interesting characters, some interesting looks. Luke Petrowski and Emmanuel Ercolani is the creative team on this. Outstanding job with this first issue. Had a great time reading this.
Yeah, I always love coming across books from creative teams I've not familiar with or never heard of, and it's funny because Emmanuel Ercolano was also the artist on the other book that I'm going to discuss in just a moment. But
Huh.
Ferocious was awesome. I mean, it was awesome. It was you talk about like, and it's funny because one of the things it does is it highlights. It's like it's something that we've all experienced. Like when you've done fucked up or you done come across something, and then the one little piece of information you omit to tell can really come back sometimes and bite you in the ass.
Yep.
You know,
Mhm.
and just the way like the onion gets peeled back in this story and the way that it ends, and especially that odd couple pairing that you talked about, like it really was like this is gonna be a friggin' awesome, awesome series. One that may be in the running for next year's floppies because it did
Yes.
come out in October, and I'm gonna tell you right now, put a pin in it. First issue was that damn good.
Yeah, it really was. And this with the stakes being as high as they are, who knows where this thing goes. But yeah, so Ferocious issue 1. If you're looking for a first issue to pick up this week, that was one that was on our radar. We really liked that. I recommend you guys checking out if you're looking for a first issue. Then there's number 2 that we mentioned that we want to talk about. I am very excited to hear your thoughts on this one because woo, woo boy.
Yeah, so Terabytes, issue 2, written by Mark London and with art by Emmanuel Ercolani. Um, so I mean, I remember, Terabytes, the first issue, right? And so we talked about this and how Mark London seems to, in the same vein as Mark Russell, it must be a Mark thing,
Hmm.
how they're able to sort of, do this social commentary without like feel like you're being lectured to or preached to, right? Like they could do it and like exactly what it is, but you don't feel like you're being hit over the head with it, right? And so the premise of this issue is, it's and listen, I love AI as a tool to make fun of my friends. I use it to help me make photoshops and make fun of my friends, especially my degenerate gambling betting friends. And I really like, making fun of them. That's about the extent of my AI use. I understand that AI is evil and is corrupting a lot of minds and taking a lot of jobs.
Good.
And what Mark London does in this issue, right? is he uses AI as a, we'll call it a comfort tool for a character who's a little down on his luck, and what this devolves into, right? And it was so brilliant. The pacing of this issue was so brilliant, right? Because it really sort of like it's the snowball effect. It starts very, very small with this one character and his interactions with this AI program, who's just asking him questions. But then it just builds and builds and builds, and holy cow, the way, the explosive ending that we get with this issue, and I love what I love about Terabytes too is it's an anthology series, so each issue is a different story. And this one in particular, I mean, I love the first one, the first story. This one blew it away. This was
Yeah.
just like it frighteningly made so much sense, and that's part of what terrifies me.
This very much felt like Terabytes feel like in a way feels like it could also be like in the like Black Mirror kind of thing,
Yeah,
like in its own like it's like its own thing in that regard. And there's similar like messaging there. This is something that like everybody needs to see. Like I haven't watched all of Black Mirror, but I obviously understand what it is, and I've seen select episodes that my wife has shown me. I'm like I want to be like everybody needs to read Terabytes issue 2. That's the issue. Obviously, we got more coming from this series, but I'm with you. Like when I read this, I was just like, yeah, this is how it starts. This is
yeah,
this is a great way to like go about it. And then you just, oh god, it's
yeah.
maddening. It
I
really
don't
is.
want to like. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to give anything. Because as soon as I say, sort of, I feel like that takes away from the fun, right?
Yeah.
And it's not as necessarily a spoiler. I'm sure it's probably in the synopsis of the book, but like when you go to your local comic book shop tomorrow, folks, or whenever you listen to us and you're at your local comic book shop and you see Terabytes issue 2 and you read it, I want you to go on that same journey, that same sort of like
Yeah.
small snowball rolling down the hill, turning into a fucking death trap,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want
100%.
you to experience that. So like this was just, and again, too, it was the pacing. It was just like it was just so well, boom, 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 right? More intense, more intense, more intense, more intense, more. It's just the build. It was very suspenseful in that regard. It was fantastic.
I think the only other thing I want to add is what as I'm reading this, I'm just like, yes, thank you. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Only he's
yeah,
preaching to the choir, Mark London, and Emmanuel, Ercolani, but it was
yeah,
great. It was so good.
yeah.
All right, from Oni, we got Catacomb of Torment issue 5, Wild West COW Boys of Moo Mesa issue 3, Yuletide issue 2. I love this series. You didn't check it out, right?
I did not. Nope.
Dibs. I warned you.
Okay.
And then High Strangeness issue 2. I don't know what happened with League of Comic Geeks. They're doing a great job over there, but just that was a little bit off. Why don't you take us through these last two, Joe?
Okay. Yeah, High Strangers is one I wanted to get to.
Mm. Another
Wait, did
anthology series for those who, like, oh, I didn't
did
check out.
we get that? I meant to.
We,
Was that in the?
we
Did that
did.
actually come out this week? Okay.
It
Yeah.
wasn't
Okay.
on the list originally, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
added
Yeah.
it, but we got it in the email, 100%.
Gotcha. Okay. From IDW, we have Sonic the Hedgehog issue 82. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Casey Jones, issue 2. The Twilight Zone, issue 2. Starship Godzilla, issue 2. Star Trek The Last Starship, issue 2. Monster High World Scare. And from a Dynamite, we have Space Ghost, issue 5. Harley Quinn and Elvira, issue 2. Vampirilla, issue 6. The Herculoids, issue 10. The Lion King, issue 1. Silverhawks issue 10, which is the end of this run, but I believe we'll be getting a new Silverhawks story soon with, I don't know if a completely new creative team, but I think at least definitely a new artist. I think Drew Moss told us that he was going to be heading over to Silverhawks at some point. But a book that we both read that you would like to discuss, Sir Nicholas, is The Terminator Metal, issue 2, written by Declan Shalvey and Roy McConville, with art by Owen Marin.
Yes, so we got different artists after the first issue was Lorenzo Ree, and we both loved the first issue. So
Mm.
much so for me that I had the ultimate confidence coming out of that issue going into the second issue, because this is another anthology series that's ongoing right now. And not to do like this is, I don't know, for me it's like comparison week for some strange reason, but I loved the first issue of this. I thought it was really well done. This this second issue was even better. It really, really was. And it's just like I enjoyed the ride that we went on the entire time. But then as we're closing in on the end, that we get to one page that I had to reread a couple times because I
Ooh.
was like, wait a second. Wait, what was that? What just happened? I didn't did I am I like not seeing something here? What's going on? And then my eyes are bugging out of my head as we get to the end. I'm just like, what in the world? How mother it was so good. It really was. The Terminator medal is like snuck up on me out of nowhere, and I am hooked on this shit right now. This is one of my favorite things on shelves.
Did you read the last Terminator series by Shelby?
No, I'm going to. I have to.
Yeah. It is so good. But yeah, reading this one because I think I can't remember which one I read first, Terabytes 2 or Terminator. I think I probably read Terminator first and then Terabytes. But man, oh man, it's something about this week and the goddamn robots
Yeah. Yep.
manipulating fucking robots. Uh, yeah, what a great again. It was the same sort of thing with Terabytes, right? The pacing can make all the goddamn difference when reading a comic book, right? Like, and
Yep.
with this, it was just again, it was like that snowball rolling down the hill, and just things just like get bigger and bigger and bigger. And when you get that moment, and you're just like, what? Holy cow! It was just so good, and
Mhm.
so like just absolutely killing it, absolutely killing it.
Yeah, it's great time for anti-robot readers and for anthology series. I think with both of those two, it's like if you like one, you're gonna like the other. You should be picking
Yeah.
those up. You absolutely should. All right. So with that said, it is time for us to get into our gift guide. Finally, it is that time of year. Now, before we get rolling, a couple of things off the top. In the past, we've mixed it up kind of in terms of things that we mentioned. We've mentioned like toys before. We've mentioned like things that are adjacent for comic book readers. We're not doing that this year. We're gonna stick primarily to the books. There are just so many awesome books out there that we want to talk about. The only other things that I wanted to mention off the top, Joe, is today I'm wearing my the plot shirt from Vault. They have some awesome shirts. I know you have the nasty, and there's one other one. I got you the nasty
Autumnal.
autumnal, and you got yourself the autumnal one. And then I know Image does some merch as well. So if you have a publisher that you really like, getting merch from there is great. Joe mentioned local comic shops, 100%. See if you're in the New Hampshire area or the Manchester, New Hampshire area. Double Midnight Comics is where I go to pick up my books. Love that shop. But also, if you know someone who it's like, okay, I do pick up my physical stuff, but I'd like to have a digital option as well. I know like Joe has dabbled in comicsology over the years. I think we all have in some capacity. I have been doing global comics for a little bit now, and it's a similar kind of deal. And they have a lot of stuff on there as well. So if you know someone who's like, okay, I have the library card, I use Hoopla, which everybody should have that if you read comics. If you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice. You should have that. Support your local comic shop, get your books there as well. And then Global Comics is a really good third option. Getting somebody that subscription would be like an annual one, I think would be very
Mm,
cool. I haven't talked to you about that as much, Joe, but they are a good option. So I should help you get a look over on that at some
mm.
point. But I
Yeah,
wanted to mention all that.
yeah, I resubscribed to Comixology not too
Okay.
long ago. But yeah, that's a good gift, right? Giving someone that access because maybe they can't get out to maybe there isn't a local comic book shop near them. But yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be talking about comics. Also, I've thrown in some pros in there as well, and then
Ooh.
we're gonna touch upon some stuff for the young adults or young readers, in your life as well. But without further ado, my friend, let's get going.
Yeah, okay. So we got a few different categories here that we like to break it down into. Again, these are all graphic novels, first trades or trades of collected series or ongoing series. In this case, we do want to lead things off with the first volume of an ongoing series. And just before we go any further, too, if you listen to all these and like, oh, the person I know is on top of everything right now. We have stuff from years past. So if anybody's been missing stuff, go and the recommendations we made in previous gift guides are evergreen. You can get, and I'm sure you can your local comic shop can get you the books that you want. Why don't we go tit for tat here on this one, Joe? What do you got for me for first volume of an ongoing series?
Okay, so you want me to just kind of go down the list that I have, or you want
No,
to
go
ping
one
pong
for
back
one,
and forth?
tit for
Oh,
tat, you back and forth.
gotcha. I thought you said tit for tit. I'm sorry. Uh, I've heard it both ways.
I hate
So
this show.
this first one here, I put on ongoing because I couldn't remember if falling in love on the path to hell is ongoing or not. I think it is. In my mind, I always thought it was like going to be 8 or 9 issues, but I believe it's an ongoing series.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you're right.
yeah, this is from Image Comics. This is Jerry Duggan and art by Gary Brown. I mean, this is a book that we both love. Gary Brown's art style is there's a great sort of sketchiness to it. It really does have a great sort of retro indie vibe to it. But this is you want to talk about odd pairings, right? You've got an old school cowboy and you have a samurai um, that have sort of been thrust into hell, and they're trying to dig and claw their way out of it, and the journey that they go on is absolutely remarkable. This is a bloody book. This is a violent book, but it's also very heartfelt. There's revenge, at the center of it as well. So this we both love this book. This is a book that I highly recommend to anyone that may have missed it over the past year. Get it. Get if there's someone in your life that just digs indie comics and likes a good sort of revenge story, this is one I would recommend.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great one. I've had a lot of fun reading that series. The first one I want to mention off the top shouldn't surprise any of our loyal listeners, and that's the Power Fantasy. Believe it or not, the first trade for this came out this year. And for me, this was a floppy in 2024. May end up taking one home in 2025 as well. This is on route to be an all-time series for me. I think the perfect person to hand this to is someone who hasn't read comics in a little bit and they've been like, "Yeah, I'd like to get back in, but I just kind of don't know where to do that necessarily." I would say give them the Power Fantasy, especially somebody who likes The Watchmen.
Mm.
That's a book that it was compared to a lot when it was first coming out, and I get it, but at the same time, like it's very much its own thing. So, but it's like an easy way to kind of sell that to somebody. So, the Power Fantasy would be my first recommendation for a first volume of an ongoing series.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that and this is not to like come off as tooting our own horn or anything like that, but I think one of the things that people like about our show is that we are so indie forward, right? We do spend a lot of time, a lot of our focus on indie books. Those are books that we love. Those are books that we love to help get to people as well. But with it being holiday season, and especially if you're listening to this or watching this and you're thinking of someone like, oh, I'd love to get them introduced to comics. I think at least for the first volume of ongoing series, I'm throwing in a lot of the big two here because I think those are like for someone who is maybe new to comics or loves comics, but you're not
Mhm.
quite sure like what they're into. Like you can't go wrong with the big two, Marvel and DC. And so one of the series that I love is Nightwing, and it's I think I probably talked about it last year with it being the Tom Taylor run,
Mhm.
but since then Dan Waters and Dexter Soy have taken over, and so their first arc on with the show is the start of their run on Nightwing, and it's a different tone and tenor than Tom Taylor had and Bruno Redondo had, but still very, very much enjoyable. I mean, Dexter Soy's art is out of this world, you know, and there's some really great elements. There's a lot of great action scenes. Like this is a book that like I've got my nephew every year. I get him some graphic novels. Like that's the kind of book that I
Ooh,
would give him, right? And
ooh.
and so like if there's someone who you know who like they love Batman and maybe like oh shit, like what Batman can I get them? I don't know. This is Batman adjacent, right? It's Nightwing, right? It's in that world, and you can never go wrong with that. So Nightwing on with the show. Dan Waters, Dexter Soy. This is a good book. Uh, you know that you can give to someone who maybe you're like you know they love comics, but you're unsure of what they may or may not have. This is a good one to start with.
Yeah, that's I like that that one for your nephew, 100%.
Mm.
That is a really nice call. And yeah, we are extremely indie forward on this show. We still obviously talk about big two books because we're able to get access to those as well. But we're gonna go back to back here on a couple of big two books. I got the Ultimate Wolverine, which is written by Chris Condon with art by Alessandro Capuccio. And again, this is another one where, to what Joe's saying, if it's somebody who hasn't read comics before, this is a really, really cool book. And how old's your nephew again? Is he a teenager?
Yeah.
I think you could give this to him and get away with that, right?
Oh, I'm thinking about giving him some of these Benjamin Percy books on my
Oh,
list.
okay. Oh, geez.
Honestly.
Okay. Yeah. But this is that kind of book. So Benjamin Percy is definitely like his stuff at Marvel even is like stuff that's like, oh wow, this is like a lot. This is crazy. Ultimate Wolverine is that kind of book that's like, oh, should I be reading this? Like, am I old enough to be reading this? That's how I feel about that book. And I think that's that sweet spot. And it absolutely like I think absolutely fine. But Alessandro Capuccio's art style, I loved what he did on Moon Knight with Jed McKay. I love what he did here with Chris Condon as well. We've really been enjoying this series, and like one of the things is like, okay, you have Wolverine as Winter Soldier in this the Ultimate Universe. That's awesome. Then you have insanely high stakes where no X-Men character who's in the mix is safe whatsoever, and that is like from the start of the series till where we are at this point. And then you get a ton of really cool spins on the X-Men characters that we see. Like Colossus is a bad guy, so is Magic. I kind of really like that. Colossus has a mixed history, but like he is the big bad in this case. Gambit is part of this like resistance group, and he's still got his like normal power set, but he's got such a cool look. And then there's other people mixed in between. Sabretooth, I think they did a really nice job. But I
Mhm.
think this is one of those where it's like, okay, you know Wolverine and you think that Wolverine's badass and cool and everything. But again, it's just like, I don't know, like, where do I start with Wolverine? Well, this is a different Wolverine. And this is also maybe one of the coolest Wolverines that you're ever going to see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the art style is so is so great. It's hard to really fully explain. I mean, I kind of want to say cinematic, but again, there's a graininess
Yes.
at it
Mhm.
to it at times,
Yes.
which I really
It's
dig. This
perfect.
is yeah, it is so freaking good. And like you nailed it. I thought Sabretooth was done so well because to me, like Sabretooth is like generally he's just a one note character, and I couldn't give two poops about
Hmm.
Sabretooth in general. Because it's just the same old thing, you know.
Yeah.
So seeing this side or seeing this version of him, I thought was excellent.
Hmm. Yeah. Really fun.
Um, yeah, so jumping back into DC, and I know I just said, you know, well, maybe you know someone that loves Batman. Maybe they've read all the classic traditional Batman books, and you want to get them some Batman, but you don't know quite what to get them. Again, I'm gonna go Batman and Robin. This is a title I've been reading now for the past 2+ years. Uh, Started off with Jason Williamson and or Joshua Williamson, sorry, and then it's been taken over by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art by Javier Fernandez. And what a friggin' team! And what a great handoff from Williamson to Philip Kennedy Johnson. Because one of the things I love most about Philip Kennedy Johnson is the way he writes sort of father son, you know, relationships and sort of that strife that you get between Bruce and Damian at times. Since Philip Kennedy Johnson's taken over, the repairing of maybe a frayed relationship and just the ups and downs that go from a father and parent. Like I said in the last issue, I saw Bruce Wayne do something I never thought I'd see Bruce Wayne do, and that was ask for advice. Ask for
Hmm.
parental advice, mind you.
Hmm.
So Batman and Robin, the start of their run, the name of the arc is Memento, and it is really really good. It has got some got that sort of old school sort of Sherlock Holmes, Gotham by Gaslight sort of vibe to it, where they're sort of tracking down the serial killer and it's going back into Bruce's path and sort of how Damien gets roped into that and he gets manipulated. It just it is so well done. Batman and Robin, Memento. This is something you can get and now you might Batman and Robin. That sounds kind of childish. It is not in the least. And you can get this for any Batman fan in your life. And there's a good chance, they may have passed on it for whatever reason. But you can get this for any Batman fan in your life, and they will love it.
Yeah, that is a nice call, and I forgot that Javier Fernandez is the artist on this
Oh,
series.
so good. I love Javier Fernandez.
All right, now I'm going to take a little turn here with assorted crisis events. The first volume of this is out now, and it's the sixth issue just came out recently and talked about it on the show. The power fantasy is for the thinker in your life, and this is even more so because there is like crazy shots that are taken at real life issues. You definitely got to know the person that you're handing this to. Like those other ones, like this is, and I would say this is not for younger readers. Like they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna appreciate it. They're just not gonna get it. This is like for someone who like maybe someone that reads comics and hasn't checked it out. Get them this and be like, here, just try it. Like I think you're going to like it. And obviously, again, you got to know them. But to me, this is something where it was like, okay, what is this? And I read the first issue. I was like, okay, this is good. I'm interested. And then the more and more I got, I was just like, holy shit! Like Joe needs to read this. My wife needs to read this. Everybody needs to read this thing. This is outstanding. It is the commentary that's there on we've been talking about it with Mark Russell a lot, and Denise Camp just did an outstanding job with every single turn. And I'm actually blanking on the artist for this series right now, and shame on me. But like the art in this series is next level as well. I'm gonna get that pulled up really quick here. Eric Zawadzki. Just there are some pages that Eric puts together throughout this, and I'm just like, how did you do this? Like, did Denise Camp tell you to do it, or did you put it together yourself? And then it's just conceptually, some of it doesn't make any sense. Like how they got there, and I love that. So all around, it's an amazing experience, and some really really tough questions are asked throughout the course of this series. In talking about real life stuff. And one of the things that's so good about it too is I know like you're someone who's like, I have no problem talking about the real life stuff, but we can't be so like on the nose about those things. And I get that and I respect it. This doesn't, this is like, knows how to toe the line exactly how it's supposed to. And I find that very, very impressive.
Yeah. That's. I gotta read this. I
Yes.
really do. We need to get to a trade stat. Um. So I'm gonna go to DC one more time here,
Hmm.
and Nick had mentioned Ultimate Wolverine, right? And how the Ultimate Universe is Marvel's sort of way of like taking characters that you know and you love and changing them, right? You can tweak, you can make good guys, bad guys, good guys, and really tweak things and tell a great story. And DC has done that with the Absolute Universe, and they've done it brilliantly. Maybe, if I may be so bold, maybe better. Like they really knocked it out of the park with their Absolute Universe.
Not bold at all.
So
Everybody thinks that 100%.
the Ultimate Universe is really damn good. But the Absolute Universe has absolutely crushed it for sure. And so I'm going to rattle off like sort of their first, the first titles that came out under the Absolute Universe, and that's Absolute Batman, written by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta, Absolute Wonder Woman, which is my favorite out of the bunch, and it's Kelly Thompson with art by Hayden Sherman. You get Absolute Superman, written by Jason Aaron with art by Rafa Sandoval. Absolute Flash, written by Jeff Lemire with art by Nick Robles. And Absolute Green Lantern, written by Al Ewing with art by Janoy Lindsay. Now, you could just give, one of these books to, that person in your life that loves comic books, and they will be very, very thankful. You could give the gift of the year by giving them all of them.
Mm.
and you will blow someone's socks off, right? Because you'll be giving them what's that? One, two, three, four, five different stories that are completely different. They're taking characters that they know and love and sort of twisting them on their head, tweaking their origin stories, um, and just all out, just brilliant comics. Like like I said, Absolute Wonder Woman's been my favorite because to me that's been the most surprising. Like, I love Superman, love Batman, like Flash has been great, Green Lantern's been great, but like I've never really read a Wonder Woman book, That's, I've read books with Wonder Woman in them, but never, in particular been like, I'm gonna check out this Wonder Woman series. And I read this, and Kelly Thompson's crushed at Hayden Sherman. His art just keeps getting better and better. But they're all excellent. They're all excellent for they all have different vibes. And so if you know someone who loves Superman, you get them Absolute Superman, they're gonna love it, right? Same thing with any of these characters. But if you really want to knock it out of the park, I highly suggest getting each of these. And you'll be thanked a thousand times over.
Yeah, and even if you know someone's been reading Absolute Batman, because that's obviously been the most popular one, I do think some of one of these other titles can also fit for everybody. And also you have there's also Absolute Martian Manhunter, which Joe is not reading, but I am reading that one as well. If you're getting assorted crisis events for somebody, Absolute Martian Manhunter is also something you should be getting for them because that's written by Denise Camp as well. Very much a thinker and some crazy art in that series as well. But I think from like a general standpoint too, if you're like, I want to get them like a DC thing and let's go like the Absolute Universe route and everything. I personally think that Superman might be the easiest thing to be like, I don't know what your style is. I'm just going to play it safe and give you that. And probably Wonder Woman. Those are the two. I do think Batman is like, it has been outstanding and you can give that to most people as well. But some people might be taken aback by Dragata's art at first. That said, if you know someone who likes anime or manga, I think that Dragata's art style really translates well to that. And I think Janoid Lindsay for Green Lantern art
Mm.
style translates very well for that as well. So a lot of options, a lot of different routes that you can go with the Absolute Universe for sure. Um, for me, the last one for the first volume of an ongoing series that I wanted to mention is a book that we talked about a lot before because we were getting early looks at these issues as they were coming out. The in the first volume specifically, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 1: Return to New York. This is the start of Jason Aaron's run, and he had a mix of artists in that first volume. And then I think it was Juan Ferreira who ended up being for the second volume of that series. But we've really enjoyed what Jason Aaron did with those characters. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, did you get Goo of the Mac and Goo program to read this? Did that end up happening? Am I right about that?
So I think he started it. I don't think his library does Hoopla anymore.
That's too bad.
Um, but I think he started it,
Okay, nice. But
but
that's
I
always
I don't know how deep he got into it, to be honest with you.
getting him to start in it is a huge win for us. After that, that's on the creative team. But it's harder, maybe harder to keep Goo's attention than most. But it's we love this series, and with that first volume, you get one issue that's devoted to each turtle as they kind of come back to New York to then deal with this new villain who you get to know at the very end of the series and get to spend more time with in the second arc. And like, look, if you like Raph, Raph has a great issue. Great
Mm,
issue. Mikey's is a lot of fun. Leo's was good, but I'm not like I'm definitely more critical of Leo, and it's like the number 4 for me in this series in this set of issues. The Donatello stuff was outstanding. His stock has
mm.
never been higher.
I mean, it's always been high with me, but yes, I would agree. It was absolutely fantastic. Um, the last book that I'm going to discuss here, I'm going to go back to the indies. We're going to go to Image Comics here,
Nice.
and this is sort of for the horror fan, in your life. We're probably going to touch upon more horror books, on this list throughout. But this is a book I didn't know what to expect, and it's become its own universe, and that's Hyde Street, written by Jeff Johns with art by Ivan Rice. And the premise of this book, what I love about it is we've got about, what is it, 4 or 5 sort of main characters, with like each issue, like
Something like
the
that.
first arc is like the first, each issue sort of focuses on a different character, how they got to Hyde Street, and a bit of their origin story. And so, what the story sort of revolves around is, you've got these characters who they've done some shady shit, real shady stuff in their lifetime, and one day they're walking down the street and they end up on Hyde Street, and it's sort of like a purgatory. They are stuck there, and the only way to get off of Hyde Street is you have to collect so many souls. Bring so many people to Hyde Street, help them get there. And once you sort of hit your quota, you can be set free. And so there's a slew of detestable and deplorable characters, none worse than Pranky. That little oof. Um, Jeff Johns did a really great job creating and writing that character.
Yeah.
But some of these characters are kind of sympathetic. Some of them are real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
they
good
they they
mix.
slick back hair, live for New Year's Eve. Slopping up their steaks. But others, there's a real redemption arc you want to see come through. So, this has been a really excellent series, one that sort of took me by surprise, one that I absolutely love, and it's its whole universe. So there's a couple of spin-off books as well that lead into this. But this is definitely for the person in your life that sort of loves offbeat horror, maybe nostalgia horror, right? Because it's got some campy vibes to it, you know and that's just due to kind of who the characters are and
Mhm.
sort of what time period they're from. But highly suggest Hyde Street.
Yeah, and I will add too. I know the aforementioned Mac and Goo program. Mac has asked us in the past, like, what's the next book that's going to get turned into, a movie and whatnot. Redcoat. It looks like there's big news, and that's going to be. I don't know if it's a movie or a show, but that's of
Mm.
course from Ghost Machine, written by Jeff Johns. That's getting turned into or getting adapted. I wouldn't be surprised if Hyde Street is the next one to come out of the Ghost Machine universe, because Geiger has like a lot of different stuff going on from like a visual standpoint. So does Rook X's. I think those would both be outstanding. But just I think like Redcoat, this would be easier. Hyde Street would be easier to kind of invest in monetarily.
Well, yeah, because like it reads like you could see like each issue could be its own episode,
Mm-hmm.
right?
100%.
Like it could be like a Goosebumps kind of thing, right? Or just like it just works so well as an episodic sort of show. It just makes too much sense.
Yeah, I so for anybody who's like looking for that kind of thing, Hyde Street is one that's like a diamond in the rough, I think, right now, especially with like Redcoat popping up. Like if Ghost Machine's gaining momentum, I would think that's the one that everybody's going to want a piece of, just because it's easier from a production standpoint. All right, moving over to completed series and OG ends. So a lot of those books that we just talked about, or all those books that we just talked about, are series that are not completed. These are, some of them are one like a single were released as single issues, but just have one volume. Maybe they turn into a full-fledged thing, but as far as we know right now, they were limited series, or in some cases OGNs. I will lead us off here on this one, Joe. This is one that will, I don't know what yet because I haven't done my list, but I have till the end of the month to do it. The floppies. This will be mentioned by me at some point, and that is, I was a fashion school serial killer. Every month that this came out, I needed to talk about this. Wagner and Hilliard have done a lot of interesting stuff. I think Plastic was like the first one that they did together and everybody took notice of. But this is the one for me where I'm just like, uh, this is my favorite thing that's going on right now. And I think with The Devil Wears Prada coming back, the I don't know if it was the second book that's getting adapted. I know there was like a second book for this series, but just in general, we're getting a second movie from The Devil Wears Prada. This is that meets Dexter. So if you know anybody that likes those kinds of things, I know someone in my life who likes both of those things. This is a book that you want to be handing them. This trade actually comes out in early December, so you have to hold off just a little bit. But this was a really good series. And I think the first issue, I don't know if it got a third printing, but I know it got a second printing. Like everybody's like aware of it and how good it is. And I could see it being a longer series. I would love for it to be a longer series. And I think part of the way that happens is more people pick up this series. But for right now, it is a completed series. So I was a fashion school serial killer. I have all the issues, single issue for this. I will be picking up the trade for this myself. You're muted.
Thank you, Jesus Christ. I was doing some typing there. Yeah, I'll be picking this up. This was such a great. Again, this was another book that could have, should have, maybe did win a number of floppies. It fit under a couple of different categories, and it was so surprising. It was came out of nowhere. It was so well done. Like it was a terrifying series, but done in a way where it's like I didn't feel like I had to read it in the middle of the day. Um,
Right.
there was just so much good about this series that I absolutely loved.
I love Rennie Bethry. She is.
Oh, the best.
I keep saying Etienne Lux is like the best new Image Comics character. I think Rennie Bethry is right there. Like
Oh
that.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm gonna definitely go a lot more indie heavy now with the completed series,
Makes sense.
because I think the indie books, a lot of the book series that we read, they're 4, 5, 6 issues. They're one arc stories, and maybe sometimes we're able to get a second or a third arc. But I'm definitely gonna trend indie and maybe even trend off the beaten path just a smidge. And I'm doing that with this first book here. It's from Mad Cave Studios, and it's Mugshots. It's written by Jordan Thomas, with art by Chris Matthews and letters by Lucas Gaetano. Think Taken done in sort of this like Art Deco style, right? There's not a whole lot of colors used. It's a lot of blacks and blues and reds, and it's got a really unique. I think Art Deco is the perfect way to sort of describe it. And this is a book that I've been meaning to, and I need to talk about as a mainline issue. Um, it's because it's just a great. I wouldn't even call it a revenge story, right? It's like it's taken in the sense that this guy's niece, was kidnapped, and for all intents and purposes, is getting you know sold into the slave trade, and just again, like we have like you have Liam Neeson, right, and Taken, who's just a fucking badass, and he's gonna go there and he's gonna throw punch and he's gonna kill everyone. Well, you got a main character here who is very much gonna do all of that stuff, but he's a wildly flawed character, right? And his demons kind of catch up to him a bit, and he's sort of one of those characters that's like you get close enough to this guy, you're gonna get hurt, and it's never intentional. It's just like that's how it goes. So this was an excellent series. I really love the art style. I really love the storytelling, and this is a book that, again, a creative team that I'm not familiar with that absolutely blew me away.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that was a random one that for me that kind of like popped up, and that was it was. This is why we do what we do, because that was one where I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm going to check this one out," and then you raved about it.
yeah.
So that's a nice choice. I'm actually going to stick with Mad Cave right now. There's a ton of books from Mad Cave. Like if you want to be, if you want, when I at least think about my recommendations here, we're obviously, our listeners are the ones who we're talking to right now. And we're hoping that we're getting new people to listen to these episodes specifically because we're trying to help you out with the comic book readers in your life. But I think if you're someone who randomly found us and you're trying to find some gifts and whatnot for people, and you like go and grab a Mad Cave title or something, Mad Cave especially, just because it's like they're definitely less on the scene for like a longer stretch than like a Dark Horse who's been around for a long time or an IDW who's been around for a long time. You go and grab a Mad Cave title for someone in your life who likes comics and you're not someone who reads comics, they're going to be like, how the fuck did you know to get a Mad Cave book? Where like, how did you figure? And you just tell them TLDR Comic Book Club. So Joe has you covered with mugshots, and we'll get some more from Mad Cave from him. And I know for me, the one that I have to mention, and again, like talking about floppies, this is another one. I'm not sure if this one qualifies. I think the trade just came out this year. That's all, and that's the Exiles. This was
Mm,
written by friend of the show, Cullen Bunn, with art by Joe Picardo. And yeah, I think this one. I think Joe Picardo. I think might have won the floppy for me last year. I can't remember. Anyways, the trade didn't come out till this year. But if this is another thing where it's like I could see it being a longer series. Don't know that it will be, but if you know someone who reads the Constantine books or saw the Constantine movie and is excited for Keanu Reeves to return, as much as those can be very, very different from one another, anything in that realm, if you know they like that, give them the Exiles, because basically you have a Constantine type character who has passed, and then he has his kids who somehow have these gifts that have to who are inheriting things from dear old dad after he has passed away, and their life just turns to shit. Very much a horror comic. The artistry in this is insane. So if also, like, yes, for the Constantine fans in your life, but if you know someone who is a horror fan, they are definitely going to want to read this if they didn't already. So the Hexiles, all time Mad Cave title for me, and at least in the all time horror conversation for me. It's an elite horror title no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Mad Cave is littered all over this list. A book that I think, you know, this is again, so a lot of these too could also be for like, first, new to comics, check this out. But a book that really stuck with me this year that I think everyone should read is The Moon is Following Us. Written by Daniel Warren Johnson with art by Riley Rossmo. And this is from Image Comics. And this book was very, again, this would probably be for more the sci-fi fantasy, person in your life. Um, maybe a slightly older reader, only because for me reading this, like, as a parent, right, the story revolves around a mother and a father trying to save their daughter and willing to go to any length possible to do so. And so there's great sci-fi vibes, this fantasy vibes to it. There's great action scenes, and some really great twists and turns. So this is a book I highly recommend because Daniel Warren Johnson absolutely crushes it. Riley Rossmo's art is also fantastic, but this has great characters, fantastical characters. It's got that sci-fi twist to it. So this is good for any sci-fi fantasy fan in your life.
Yeah, that's another nice call. There's just so many awesome ones to pick from. I'm going to stick in the horror department. We don't have a specific horror section for this. Obviously, we talk a ton of horror on the show, but this is a book that, like the Hexiles, where it mainly ran last year and then the trade came out this year. There's a little bit of the Hexiles came out this year, but Seance in the Asylum. You and I talked about this a lot when it was ongoing over at Dark Horse Comics. I think I don't know how much hype the Exiles got, but we've talked about it so much that I felt like we did enough on our own. I think Seance at the Asylum was one that, like, what I feel like not enough people were talking about that series. I really did, like, it just it, and that's one of the things about indie comics, why we love talking about them so much, or feel like compelled to. There's so many awesome stories, and so many people just, like, it's easy to sleep on them because there's just so much stuff to keep track of. But Leonardo Marcello Grassi's art style, well, it will have you tripping from start to friggin' finish. Where I was talking about with the Hexiles, where it's like this insane, crazy, violent action. This is much more haunting, chilling, and there's like a period piece element to it that I really enjoy, and it fits really nicely with that chilling vibe. And it's basically, you have this medium where she's getting brought in to help at, like, I think it's in the 20s, maybe late 1800s, something to that degree. But she's brought in to this insane asylum to kind of help out with her abilities, and then things, that just sounds like a recipe for success. Of course, bringing a medium to an asylum where you have patients who are mentally unwell and not treated well at all either. So things ensue from there, and the art really just takes you on a journey that's just like, I'm thinking about chills, getting chills just thinking about it again.
Yeah, that was a haunting book. But so well done. A book that I'm gonna go with is a little. I don't want to call it upbeat, but this was, again, it was another sort of fantasy story that was very cartoonish in nature, right? Like this is a book that was very sort of nostalgic for me in a lot of ways. And that's Uncanny Valley from Boom Studios, written by Tony Fleece with art by Dave Wachter. And this was a story of, it was almost a coming of age story. It's a story of, your hidden past, what's your destiny. And Dave Wachter was brilliant because he had to animate. He had to draw so many different animation styles in this because it really drew upon, nostalgic characters, or characters are similar to nostalgic characters that we all sort of know and love and grew up with. And sort of this is just a great little fantasy story of good triumphing over evil, facing your destiny, an origin story of sorts, if you will. This was a lot of fun to read, and every issue just packed a punch, and just as you got deeper and deeper and deeper, got better and better and better. So again, this would be someone that's maybe more, you know, uh, you know, maybe they're more into, cartoons, or they're more into sort of fun, fantastical sort of stuff. I mean, this dealt with some dark stuff, don't get me wrong. Um, but this isn't a horror book. This isn't a straight fantasy, like high fantasy, or a straight sci-fi story. This was a lot of fun, but it got dark, and it had some really great twists and turns. And like I said, Fleece is a hell of a writer, and Wachter had to draw many, many different art styles, which all worked so well. So Uncanny Valley is a book you should definitely check out.
I also think that when how I said about Mad Cave, where it's like that, if you go and pick if you're not a comic book reader and then you get a comic book reader in your life, a Mad Cave book, and they're like, how the hell did you come upon this? I think Uncanny Valley is another way that you can make yourself look really good too, because it's like, wait, what is this? This is an amazing experience. I haven't seen anything like this in comics. Dave Wachter, man, did a lot of work in this series. It was some impressive stuff and a great story from Tony Fleece. We got, speaking of Mad Cave, there are 3 Mad Cave titles I know you want to hit on. Before you do that, though, I do have one more from Dark Horse that I wanted to touch upon, and that is Jump Scare. And this is another book that you and
Mm.
I absolutely championed. Got a couple of Cullen Budd books, which is no surprise. Although we haven't chatted with him in a little bit, but this came out of his universe, Beyond Mortal universe over at Dark Horse Comics. I almost said Mad Cave there. And while we enjoyed Beyond Mortal, this, first of all, you can have read Beyond Mortal and read Jump Scare, and you can enjoy it. They do a good job of like telling you what's going on, but not inundating you and making it seem like what is this? Um, I I enjoyed Jump Scare more, and it's not about comparing, but I just felt like Cullen stumbled onto something, whereas like he's done so much superhero work, but he's does such a great job with horror as well, and combined the two perfectly in this series to give us this character that's like familiar but so different in so much in so friggin' outstanding. It's so much fun. Everything about it. I really enjoyed Jump Scare. I don't think Cullen said that we're going to get a second volume. We definitely could. I'd love to, but for right now, hand them Jump Scare, and they're gonna have a good time for sure. And again, horror fans, this is a horror comedy, but definitely something for the horror fan in your life.
Yeah, and I'm going to end things here for trade paperbacks of completed series with again a horror as well. Try to kind of give a little bit of everything here, and it's Crush Depth, written by DB Andre, Tim Daniel, with art by Alex Sanchez, and this is from Mad Cave Studios. And we had DB and Tim to talk about this, and we had the luxury too of reading the first 2 issues, I think, when we talked to them. And this is, I would sort of call this a sci-fi horror book, right? Where it's not like space sci-fi, but you're in a submarine under the sea. This is a very claustrophobic sort of science fiction horror story, and with the idea of like we got to live on the sub because what's at the surface is not great, Bob. Um,
Yep.
and so the horrors that lurk on the surface to me fail in comparison to what could possibly be lurking in the deep dark recesses of the ocean. And you get this very claustrophobic, very sort of chilling, monstrous horror story. um None of the characters, so to speak, are deplorable sort of characters. I mean, you're sort of rooting for everyone there, but things start to, as you go on, okay, eh, we're getting a little sea madness, I think, going on here. And Alex Sanchez's art, like, there's some stuff he does that just makes you go, oh, well, I don't know if I like that. That's not great. Uh,
Yeah, seriously, like, one of the things that I when this series first started and we talked to the guys about it on the show, and I had this one on my list originally as well too, and then I saw you had jotted down already. I was like, all right, fine. But when we first saw the first pages or the first issue of Crush Depth, what blew me away was just like the underwater horror that's there
Mm.
and how it was captured, because that's something for me that I think is hard for comics to do, just because of like the natural like motion that comes with water, and like the stillness, which is something that comics can do really well, but I don't think it's easy to do in this instance. It really like there's just a lot there that I think is challenging in comics, and it's accomplished in Crush Depth. And I had a lot of fun, a lot of chills reading that series. So yes, that is a great call. Again, like that's one of the few that like we both like. Not that we both don't love all the books that we're talking about that we've both read, but it's just that was one of the few that we both had on our list that crossed over.
Yeah, so that satisfies Joe Mulvey's DB Andrew mention for the episode.
We have hit our quota. Oh
All
man,
right, Nicholas, what do we have? Well, I can take us through this next one because admittedly, you know, uh,
yeah,
don't have as much experience with this one as I might.
yeah, the only thing I'll add is that I have one nephew that I get Sonic comics, and I have another nephew that I get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures. But right now, like I don't know, like I can't. And I got my niece. What was that one from Paper Cuts? The one with the mummy cat. That was co-written by Chaz Pangburn. But like I have a tough time with this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
I got you covered, Nicholas. I've got you covered. So our next section here is youth slash young adult books. Now I've got a sort of a mix of things here. I have an soon to be 9-year old daughter, and it's not that she doesn't like to read, but she's at this point where it's like reading has become part of like homework. So she's just like, "Urgh." So I'm constantly trying to find things that I think, she'll love. So she's on a pretty good little graphic novel kick, as we go. So that's
Father of the
inspired.
Year.
Yeah, inspired some of the books that I have on here. One of which we found just randomly at Newbury Comics, and it's three fairly thick graphic novels, which she effing flew through. I mean, she flew through these 3 books like I couldn't believe it. It's called Hooky, and it's written by Miriam uh, Bonastri. Quick synopsis: when Danny and Dorian missed the bus to magic school, they never thought they'd wind up declared traitors to their own kind. Now, thanks to a series of mishaps, they are being chased by powerful magical families seeking the prophesied king of witches and royals searching for missing princesses. So this is a graphic novel, like a webtoons, sort of thing. Great art style. It's written and drawn by Miriam Bonastri there, and so Violet loved it. My daughter absolutely loved it. She flew through these. So if you've got a sort of a young reader that maybe is like they don't hate to read, they don't necessarily love to read. You're just trying to, find something that they might, gravitate towards, and they like sort of like magical. Maybe they like Harry Potter. Like this is something that I would recommend for them.
Nice.
Another graphic novel that Violet has enjoyed is called Amulet. It's written and drawn by Kazu uh, Kabushi. After the tragic death of their father, Emily and Navin move in with their mother to the home of her deceased great grandfather. The strange house proves to be dangerous. Before long, a tentacled creature lures the kid's mom through a door in the basement. Em and Navin, desperate not to lose her, follow her into a fantastical world inhabited by robots, mysterious plants, and talking animals. It's up to Em and Navin to figure out how to set things right and save their mother's life.
Robots.
Robots. This next book is actually also a Netflix cartoon. Started off as apparently it started off as a novel and then was turned into a graphic novel and is also now a cartoon on Netflix, and that's The Last Kids on Earth. And this is fun. I've watched this with Violet. This is a great little cartoon. Ever since the monster apocalypse hit town, average 13-year-old Jack Sullivan has been living in his treehouse, which he's armed to the teeth with catapults and a moat, not to mention video games and an endless supply of Oreos, Mountain Dew, scavenged from abandoned stores. So, like, this is a fun sort of like, again, like, you can give this to like maybe your son, right? If you've got a son who's like, doesn't like to read, but he's into like maybe zombies and monsters and that kind of like this is really fun. And it's not scary, even though it's got monsters. It's just a lot of fun. This is a book that I think you could give to any 9, 10, 11 year old, and they would enjoy very much. um Next is a novel which I've been reading to Violet on a regular basis called Impossible Creatures. And again, this is another fantasy story. It's really good. This might be for, again, I'm thinking 9, 10, 11 and up. This is really appropriate for. I'd read the hell out of this. If I wasn't reading it chapter by chapter with my daughter, I would have flown through this already. The second book is already out. I guess they're turning it into a franchise as well. But that's Impossible Creatures, written by Catherine Rundle. This one, I mean, this has been around forever, but again, Violet loves it. It's another sort of great graphic, novel. I don't know if you call it a graphic novel, but Diary of a Wimpy Kid,
Hmm.
written by Jeff Kinney. The movies are out there. I mean, this is a massive franchise. The author actually has a store in Massachusetts, not far. I can't remember what town it is. It's right next to Foxborough. We've been there. Great little bookstore. Highly recommend. I'm sure I'll remember at some point what the hell the name of the bookstore is.
Hmm.
But Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Violet loves it. There's a bunch of books, easy to get through. Comics wise, I'll end with two here. We got the original Ultimate Spider-Man, written by Brian Michael Bendis. Um, this is a book that I absolutely love. It's I think the first comic graphic novel that I gave my nephew when he was around 9 years old or so. This is like this is what you want to give to, like, if you want to get your kid into comics, they've never read comics before, but they like maybe love the Spider-Man cartoons or they've seen the Spider-Man movies. Give them this comic. There's a whole bunch of volumes. Volume one by Brian Michael Bendis. They will absolutely love. It's a great Spider-Man origin story, and just all around awesome comic. And then lastly, Bone, written by Jeff Smith. I bought this. I haven't had Violet read it yet. It's been around for a very, very long time. I haven't read it yet, but quick synopsis: after fending off their ambush, Grandma Ben captures two stupid rat creatures and learns that the valley is being evacuated. King Doc arrives and attacks the party, and Fawn Bone gets separated from Thorn and Ben, taking up Grandma Ben's sword. So this one to me strikes me for maybe a little bit older reader. Like, I think I bought this for Violet last year when she was like 7, and at the time said no, not quite. She's not quite ready for this, not from a reading standpoint, but maybe a maturity standpoint. But I think like 9, 10 and up, right, would
Yeah.
be a good age range for this. Maybe even closer to 10, but that's a parenting decision. But again, a little bit older. I wouldn't go getting this for my 6 or 7 year old.
Bone is one we hear a lot from people. I think specifically to Jason Sean Alexander talked to us about that when we were at C2E2 and saw him. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a nice call. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm glad you got it covered on that front. I could not for some reason mentally get there for some reason this year. But where I could get was new to comics. Try these. And I think this is probably the category that excites me the most, because one thing that we talk about, and then I hear I hear creators talk about, I see people write about, what have you, is just how do you get someone who likes Batman or someone who likes absolute Batman to go and check out, an indie comics title, and similarly, someone who's like, oh, I like these movies, or I like this certain type of story, but I can't get it. Like, there's no shows, there's no more shows that I can check out that are good. There's no more movies. Like, this is where comics comes into play, because comics can be fucking anything, and the budget is like so different than movies and shows. So we got a few here. Some stuff that will be familiar, some stuff that's a little bit different. The first thing that I want to mention off the rip that I had down and then I took away because I was like, oh, this didn't come out this year. But the trade did come out this year. Came out like over the summer, maybe in spring, and that's Kill All Immortals by a friend of the show, Zach Kaplan, and artist Fico Ossio. Anything though from Zach Kaplan's catalog would make a great gift. I know you had Dark Empty
Dark Empty
Void.
Void.
Yeah, which was outstanding. But I think Kill All Immortals is probably of all the things that Zach's done, the easiest thing to just hand to somebody and like be like, I think you like this, but I'm not sure because it's got John Wick, it's got Succession, and then it's got Immortal Vikings. Like those, like that's all the stuff that you kind of need to know to tell them, and they're gonna check it out. The action in this, Fico also does an outstanding job. I think the first few pages, I know for us, really hooked us. Not that we needed it, we knew we were gonna like the series, just like the premise alone, and then knowing how Zach writes and everything. But if for anybody who's like, I'm not familiar with this stuff, you'll see the first couple pages and be like, this shit's badass. What the fuck is this thing? And guess what? There's a second volume that's going on right now. Kill All Immortals. Great title.
Yeah, yeah. It is so good, and the cover work too is outstanding. This is a book where just give it to them. Say, here you go. You're gonna like it, and it is violent. It is beautiful. It is this got all sorts of layers to it that anyone will enjoy.
And again, it's like a
Uh,
thing where it's like comics are this? Like I
yeah,
thought they were superheroes. Like, no,
yeah,
no, not always.
yeah. My first title here is for the person in your life who's turned on Netflix, watch season 1 of The Witcher, and go, oh, well, that's fantastic, and then after that one, but they like The Witcher, but maybe they didn't know that it's in comic book form, right? Maybe they're familiar with the books but never read them and have just watched the show, but they want to get more into Witcher. I would recommend the Witcher graphic novels, and for me, primarily the ones written by Bartosz Stibber. I think he's got 3 or 4, stories out there, all with different artists. All with just great stories of Geralt, and this is one I would highly recommend. I would recommend this to any fantasy fan in your life or any fan that has watched The Witcher and wants more Witcher. You can
Yeah.
never have enough Witcher, and I would suggest that for sure.
Yeah, in the original, the creator of The Witcher, some of his work has been adapted
Mm.
into graphic novels as well. So like if you anything you come like we're big fans of Bartos's work over on The Witcher, but like if you're getting the original writer doing some of that stuff too, their work getting translated, like that's another great option as well. And when Size gets adapted, Size Spurs gets adapted to a trade, of course that will apply, but that's not going to be there, I don't think, for the holidays. For me, and now going back into again, like so, Kill All Immortals is like this crazy, fun action story, and there's a lot of family dynamics here, and there's so much going into this second volume as well. Where it's like, okay, like this is comics, but at the same time, like there's the action, there's like the superpowery type stuff. Like I could see how there's some of that translating here. I think Rook Exodus has something similar going on there, but again, it's like it feels like it's got a superhero thing to it, but it really doesn't. And one of the things for me about it is just when I first saw the character Rook, I had two thoughts. One, Joe's not going to read this because that's a fucking bird mask. And two, I love, love, love this character's look. And there are other wardens like this character that I absolutely love. And basically, you have a series of wardens who have these masks on this like Earth-like planet that have these abilities to control the animal of the like the mask that they replicate. So so Rook has crows, ravens that he controls. There's another character who has direwolf. You can figure out what that one does. And there's the one that's called I don't know if we know the name, but we refer to it as stag at this point as least. So of course controls deer, a bunch of different ones like that. And right now that was like an alternate to Earth because Earth had an overpopulation issue, and then there's issues now happening on this new planet, and chaos ensues in that first volume. The second one just started. A lot of fun with that series, period. Like just from a story standpoint, but I love what Jason Fabok did from an artistic standpoint with the designs, and the art is just outstanding. So if you know someone who likes, seriously, if you know someone who likes Spawn type stuff, like the Spawn's character design where he's got all the spikes and everything, not at all the same story. So much different in premises, but there's like a similar ish, there's a similar itch that's getting scratched for me when it comes to character design. If you know someone like that, get them Rook Exodus.
Yep, yep. I do got to read that at some point. The book I am gonna suggest here is one that we don't really discuss on the show all that often, or at least the style. And we've done manga a few times, so this is a book that for someone in your life who is maybe into manga, or some manga adjacent, type books, and that's Solo Leveling. This is a Korean manhwa, which is a Korean comic, and with manhwa, or webtoons, I believe they're also known as, is they read more like a traditional graphic novel, and they are in color, unlike manga. Right, manga reads backwards, and it's typically in all black and white. But good pal of the show, Christopher Scheim, turned me onto this, and it's now an animated show on Crunchyroll. But
Oh,
Solo Leveling, right? This is a book that I'm flying through. This is for, like, again, like the sort of manga or manga adjacent fan in your life, but also for the gamer, right? The premise of this story is that you have these monster hunters, and there's different levels of monster hunters, and there's level E all the way up through level A, and even above, and so you know, essentially what happens is, like, these monster hunters go in the caves. Depending on your rank or what your level is, you have different jobs, and you're only allowed to go into certain caves. It's like you got to, like, level up, right? And the higher rank, the higher level you are, the more famous you become, the more money you can make, the more notoriety you have. And it's about this character Jin Woo, who is just like the meekest and weakest of all, and he happens to stumble upon something, and all of a sudden he's now one of the most powerful hunters, but he has to kind of keep it a secret. And it's just so good. The action panels, the action sequences are so great. The story, the characters are absolutely fantastic. And like I said, this is like for those in your life that they love video games, they love fantasy stuff, they love manga, that sort of style. This is a book I highly, highly, highly recommend. I think there's 12 volumes of it, but they're not terribly thick. Sometimes you get a manga and it's like each volume is like 4 inches thick.
hmm.
That's not the case here, right? Very readable. You could get through a volume in one sitting if you really wanted to. And I did that with a few of them. So Solo Leveling, definitely worth checking out and buying for someone in your life.
Yeah, you've been praising that one ever since you checked it out. You have been
Mhm.
absolutely gushing over that series. One that we talked about a lot, and we've talked about this writer a lot this year. You for Silverhawks, both of us for Wild Animals, which we may end up
Mm.
winning, or is Wild Animal or no Wild Animals, which may end up winning a floppy from one or both of us this year. Who knows? But the book that we're talking about right now was up for contention for a floppy in 2024, and you could argue if it had ended later in the year that it might have won. Timing might have been against it in this, and that is The Displaced.
Mm.
This is I've been trying to get my wife to read this one. I really think she is going to like it because she got us on the, I think it's MGM Plus show From, which Rich Keefe, a friend of the show, hashtag Dork, is a huge fan of. We actually reviewed I think it was the third season on his program, and I'll be back for whenever the next season comes out. But From, and also if you like Lost, they're dealing with like the similar itch where you have these characters in those stories. You have these characters that are from the normal world and then displaced into this new location. They're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. In this story, you have people who are in a normal place in the world, and then they are displaced into the wild, into the rest of the world, and the place that they were from is gone. and now it's and then everybody forgets about it, and there's all this stuff. So it kind of flips the script on that a little bit, and then takes it to another level. And again, this is something where we know that Ed Brisson has the idea for a second volume with this, and we'd love to see it. If we don't ever get it, this one volume is going to scratch that itch. But I think this could be a really, really good like transitionary comic for people where it's like, when the fuck did comics start doing this kind of shit? I don't know if you find anything else that will scratch this itch in comics. Quite honestly, that's part of the beauty of it. But it's definitely something where it's like, wow, like comics can do different shit. This is a story I would never think a comic book would have or would be featured in a comic book. So yeah, The Displaced.
Yeah, excellent book. The book that I want to discuss next, that I'm going to recommend next, I should say, is The Last Wardens, written by Amit Tischler, and Elliot Spurl.
Hell yeah.
This this is for, again, sort of the horror, the monster, the fantasy fan in your life. I know that's been a running theme, especially with me tonight. But again, from Mad Cave Studios, and it's just, these books have just been so good. And this sort of, again, there's an emotional rawness to the story, and it revolves around, a sister trying to save her brother. And there's some tremendous metaphor, you know, throughout this series. But you've got this sort of ragtag group of monsters that are trying to save this town, try to sort of kill this monster that has taken over, while at the same time you have our main character Danny trying to save that same very monster, because it is in fact her brother. And so there's a lot of emotional hangups that need to get resolved. There's a lot of self discovery, and there's a lot of chaos. And it's just such a good series. And this is, again, for that person who, who likes fantasy stuff, who likes a little bit of horror stuff, who likes some offbeat, stuff, right? This is not a typical story you're going to find in a DC or a Marvel comic, right? This is what makes indies so great. So The Last Wardens by Amit Tischler and Elliot Sproul. Excellent,
And
excellent.
I would add too with The Last Wardens, that where some of the horror stuff we've talked about, it's like this got some scary shit going on in this. I think this is probably the one where you can give it to like, okay, they kind of like horror, but they don't want to get the shit
Yeah,
scared out of them.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
this
yeah.
is the one that fits that mold. Like you got some crazy art, artwork in it. Don't get me wrong, that's definitely horror, but it's like, I'm thinking about like jump scare on like some of those characters, like
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
monsters they have, and then obviously like Joe Picardo, what he did in Exiles. This is like a little bit easier for you to take in
Mhm.
from that
More of
standpoint.
that middle ground. More of that middle ground.
Yeah, 100%. All right, I got two more that I wanted to touch upon. One that we actually talked about during What's New, and that's Exquisite Corpses.
Mm.
This is, of course, the first volume of well, actually, I think a limited series. Although I wouldn't be surprised if we get like the 12 issues or whatever we're supposed to get of Exquisite Corpses, and then we get another, thing set in the Exquisite Corpses world in, a different time frame and everything like that. This has the potential with this is endless. This is another thing where we've talked about it. Like this will get turned into a show at some point. Like nobody's hotter in comics right now than James Tynion. Obviously, something's killing the children news, which is funny because everybody acted like when we got that recent news. Everybody was like, "Oh my god!" Like it's like we knew this was happening. Like this was a thing. Like maybe it was just like a different part of the steps in the phase or whatever, the steps in the process. But either way, I was like, no, we all kind of knew some of this stuff was happening with something is killing the children. At least I did, and you did. And then but with Exquisite Corpses, this is one of those books where it's like you didn't know comics can do this, and it's just basically this. You have this made up world where, or this alternate, like some could say maybe not alternate USA, where the power is actually held by these like 13 or 12 families. I forget what it was, but I think it's the original colonies, and they have this game every 3 years for who gets the actual control of the country, who runs point on all of it. And you have like these killers that participate in this game, and chaos ensues from there. I think again when we talk about what's the next thing that's going to what's the next comic that's going to get turned into a movie or a show. There's obviously other things that are moving along, but this is one that will eventually, or I'll eat my hat. Right? No?
Yeah, no, hands down it should be, right? It's we talked about it in What's New, like what happens in the latest issue is just eh, the game's getting intense and not just on the playing field. It is so good. It is so good. And 100% would make an excellent TV show because then you could do this like each season could be this game in a different and you get a different cast of characters. It just again makes too much sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm jumping back to the big two here, and I'm going to Marvel this time, and this is the Predator versus series. And I think I'm gonna grab my nephew a couple of these books because they were just like they absolutely blew me away. And it's Marvel, right? And so you think, okay, Marvel will kind of go to a certain line and then like they won't cross it. Well, for some reason, they've just given Benjamin Percy carte blanche to get as twisted and as violent as humanly possible with a lot of his books. Now, I will say this right off the bat: you want to check the cover. There might be a for mature audiences only
Mm-hmm.
on the cover of some, if not all, of these books, because he really goes there. and and so like we got Predator versus Spider-Man, which to me was my favorite of the bunch just because to me that sort of read like a 1970s, Son of Sam, sort of serial killer, in New York City kind of vibe where you got Spider Man and Craven the Hunter, sort of hunting down this predator who the newspaper and the people just know it as the Skinner because they don't really know what it is that's doing all these things. So you had Predator versus Black Panther, which was less on the horrifying aspect of things, and that was just sort of like one country meeting another and sort of going to battle with each other, right? In the fight over vibranium. Predator versus Wolverine, again, excellent, excellent, excellent. I mean, Benjamin Percy wrote Wolverine for such a long time. He has such a great command of that character. This one got bloody. This one got violent. You can only imagine what happens when you get a Wolverine up against a Predator, right? It's just like it's something else. But the book that's going on now, right? And so this is the one I just added it here, even though I know it's not going to be a graphic novel, but it just be on the look for it and get it after the fact and promise this to whoever. Like I will get you this as soon as it comes out, and that's Predator kills the Marvel Universe because that's sort of tying up a lot of these stories. And what Benjamin Percy is doing in that is outright vicious. But yeah, the Predator versus series. This is again, you gotta like know, like you gotta be comfortable that you're gonna be giving whoever you're giving this to, there's gonna be some violence in there. And so like double check that, but excellent,
Mm-hmm.
excellent stuff. Like I'm gonna give this to my nephew. He's gonna friggin' love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
It's
nice one.
because he's at that age now where it's like, okay, it's okay to give to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely, definitely. You give this to the hardcore Marvel fan in your life, and they're gonna love it.
Yeah, that's a really nice choice. I like that one a lot. Last one for me is anybody you know that is like nostalgic for the 80s. And that's not just people like Joe who were born in the 80s. I know like my wife and I both run into this. It's like we're 90s kids and we love the 90s and all this stuff, but like there is a nostalgia that we have for the 80s. And it's probably because all the different movies that we got from that time and the vibe that um they were able to capture, and then just like the way things have changed in the world and like how that was a simpler time and all this kind of stuff. But grommets is something that you absolutely got to check out. I'm actually going to read the synopsis for this one. Two outcast best friends navigate the Sacramento suburbs of 1984, where they find a home in skateboard culture and punk rock, perfect for fans of John Hughes Brat Pack teen movies, Freaks and Geeks, in Dazed and Confused. I think that pretty much sums it up for you there. The only other thing that I want to add is that you aren't going to find many other things like this on the on shelves from comics. I could see this being turned into a larger series. I don't think that's going to happen though. And again, like this is a thing where it's like, oh, it's very different from Stranger Things, like just from a topic standpoint, but like in terms of like getting that nostalgic vibe, this is the kind of thing where I know Stranger Things is going to be coming out now as they, heading into the new year and everything, but like this is going to help scratch that itch as well for people who are like, oh, I wish there were more things like this right now. Give them grommets.
Love that. This was a book too that I had wanted to read and I didn't get to, and you took dibs on it. So that was a case of me not getting to it fast enough. But that just sounds like a great book.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of fun when you check that one out. I really
Yeah.
think you will. All right, that's it, right? You got nothing else?
No, I'm good, baby. I think this might be our outside of like the 5 hours we spoke to Kyle Starks. I think this is our longest episode ever.
Yes, this is definitely up there. So we got you guys covered for all your gift stuff. We will be ahead of Thanksgiving just doing a what's new episode. I should have said this off the top. That will actually be recorded on Monday. So maybe we'll drop it a little early for everybody since we're recording early and messing up the timing. And I said it a little bit too late. But yes, we'll be doing just what's new ahead of Thanksgiving. Until then, Joe.
Keep reading, baby. Yeah.